Well, welcome everyone. Rebekah, we're here to discuss this historic April 2022 Sire Summary Week. Many things happening this week, as those listening would know, but we're here to discuss the updates to what's happening from the CDCB, DWP dollar, and HHP dollar side. Let's start, Rebekah, with the CDCB and what's new there as far as updates from CDCB.
Sounds good. Thanks, Larry. Yeah, there's been a few changes, primarily to the amount of data that we have available for our genetic evaluations. So, one of the things that's pretty exciting is that with this proof period, we now have more than 6 million genotypes in the CDCB database. And the more information that we have available to us, the more accurate we can start making those genetic evaluations, or not start, continue to make our genetic evaluations because we've been doing this for such a long time. The other thing that's quite interesting with this sire summary is we have included the milk only phenotypes in our genetic evaluations. So, what this means is that animals that have information and milk recording data that is just about milk volume, their information is also being included. And what this allows us to do is capture the additional health and fertility phenotypic information. Some of those traits have been our lower heritability traits because it's harder to capture all of that data. So, by making this addition of these evaluations and including those in the genetic evaluations, it really helps to give more robust information to some of those traits that have been harder to capture data on historically.
I think that's a great point, Rebekah. Data in this world of genomics, data is even more important than it ever was. And valuable data, such as adding milk only, will only add to the low reliability health traits, as you mentioned. Now, speaking of health, DWP dollars has been updated. There's now what's called DWP 2022, and we're excited about DWP and how it's moving along. And so let's visit about that, Rebekah.
Yeah, so DWP 2022 is exciting, but really it's not anything that's really new. We've been really looking at DWP since it first became available over 5 years ago, and that's been something that's really driven our genetic selection at Worldwide Sires, and it's really been part of what we've been promoting to our customers for creating long lasting, high producing, healthy cows. And with this 2022 update, what Zoetis has done is really looked at all of the different traits that are included in DWP and said, do all of those traits deserve a place in this index that is focused on animal health and longevity and profitability? And there have been a few modifications to the index based on the economics of today's dairy producers and what we expect for the future. So there's been a shift a little bit in the weighting of fat and protein. And we also see a shift to a bit more emphasis on cow wellness and the impact that that has on the productivity and profitability of the dairy herd. The other thing that is new with DWP 2022 is the inclusion of residual feed intake in this index versus feed saved and a reduction for body weight composite. So rather than just focusing on creating cows that are a bit smaller and assumed to produce more milk per size of the cow, size unit, it's really focusing on that new trait of residual feed intake when we're looking for feed efficiency.
So it's really a truer measure as to the actual feed intake and the true economics. there. And I'd like to interject here, Rebekah, if I might. I think it's safe to say um, what we really are excited about with DWP dollars is that it creates a higher value product for our consumers, which in turn creates more saleable milk, more total saleable milk for our dairymen to sell. So it's a win-win all the way around for our consumer and for our dairymen. It's such a valuable tool, and I'm excited today to be a part of it. Now, let's go a little deeper, Rebekah, if you would, in the wellness traits and the indexes involved in DWP dollars.
Yeah, so I think it's really good to look a little bit deeper. Before moving to that deeper level, what I'd like to do is just also highlight the Jersey DWP. And as a Jersey enthusiast, I think you'll definitely appreciate this as well. One of the things that we see here with the 2022 update for DWP for jerseys is that there's been a shift toward more emphasis on cow wellness and calf wellness within this index as well. And also an inclusion in the Jersey DWP of functional type. And so this is the first time that that's been incorporated as well. So I think it's just, again, really good to see how Zoetis continues to do research on really focusing on what is the type of cow that's needed for the future, as you said, to produce more saleable milk to help our producers as well as our end consumers. Calf wellness is one of the things that really separates DWP from all of the other indexes available in the industry. And this is something that I've really talked about a lot because most of our animals, I mean, they spend 2 years in this time that we've not captured a lot of data on historically. So having this information is so critical because has so much impact on the profitability of our producers' herds. So calf wellness continues to be an important part of DWP. And what we see here is that the three primary traits focused on calf wellness are still those primary traits. There has been some shifting in the weighting of the importance of each trait within calf wellness dollars, based on ongoing research on where costs are coming from and where animals are facing the most challenges that impact their lifetime profitability. So we see for Holsteins more emphasis on scours resistance or resistance to diarrhea. That's a little bit closer in line with what we would have also seen previously for the Jersey calf wellness. And what we see for Jersey calf wellness is that there's been a shift and a bit more emphasis placed on calf respiratory disease or resistance to those respiratory diseases. So some shifting in the weighting of those calf wellness traits within CW dollars. But again, the three key traits are really still those same ones. The weighting has just been modified a bit.
That's one of the things that I think you appreciate the most about what DWP dollars brings is the calf wellness traits, the uniqueness of the calf wellness traits, because it's really about, if you will, Rebekah, how can every heifer born on a dairy contribute to their bottom line throughout their lifetime? And it starts once they hit the ground, and paying attention to those losses or those opportunities is a key focus that with DWP dollars and the calf wellness, we have the opportunity to contribute to sustainability.
Yeah, and I think it's so important as we have more and more producers really creating more precise genetic strategies and trying to create a herd that they have longer lasting cows in their producing herd, but also they're trying to really be focused on how many heifers are they producing and not overproducing heifers, but really producing the precise number that they need, in those cases, every heifer has to be as healthy as possible and has to make it into the milking herd. And so calf wellness is increasingly important for that. So the next piece to move into is looking at the cow wellness traits. And these wellness traits for the milking animals continue to be just so important. The biggest thing for the Holsteins that we see with this 2022 update is that there has been a bit more emphasis placed on lameness resistance and also resistance to ketosis. So these two diseases have been recognized as having an impact on profitability, perhaps at a slightly higher level than was previously understood. And so making this modification just again helps to get us a bit more in the precise direction of creating those long-lasting cows.
But what about the Jersey? Let's go to Jersey. I'm really excited about what's happening there.
Yeah, so the Jersey in particular, this is a cow that, and a breed that has been really recognized for having good transitions, having easy calving, and something that we've always known about them. But when Zoetis first created the Jersey wellness traits, they still included all of these traits that are typically associated with transition problems in the index because they said, well, we probably should include some weighting for those. What we've seen as there's been additional time and use of this index is that those really aren't problems for the Jersey breed. And we need to focus on where can we actually make the biggest impact. And what needs to be focused on with the Jersey population is mastitis resistance. So the great thing about the new wellness trait index is it doesn't use up some of those points in the index on something that's really not important for the breed, but it shifts all of that weight onto mastitis resistance, which is really where we see the challenge being faced by the breed and where we have the most opportunity for genetic gain and progress. So I'm really glad that this has been recognized and that we can really start seeing that progress going forward.
I would say that this is the biggest positive in the 2022 DWP dollars is the focus now on mastitis in jerseys. All data shows a decline in mastitis or an increase in the presence of mastitis in jerseys. Genetically, the breed is continuing to drift the wrong direction. Holsteins are making some improvement, Jerseys are not. And Jersey folks need to focus on mastitis, and this tool will go a long way helping turn that pendulum around and start back the right way. Mastitis is a very important issue in Jerseys, and the Jersey wellness traits recognize that now.
Yeah. So, as you said, I think this is one of the most exciting things, especially from a producer and breeder standpoint, as far as selecting for the Zoetis traits and for DWP and recognizing the importance of the wellness traits within DWP. Another thing that's come out this time is that Zoetis is shifting a bit the way that they are marketing some of their information. And really trying to create that connection throughout the entire product chain and add value. And so one of the things that you might be seeing as you look at information about 2022 DWP is that some of the traits have been classified into different groups than we're used to seeing them as salespeople or as milk producers. This is an effort to promote what we're doing as an industry to the milk processors and to the end consumer. So I just want to make our people aware of some of these new approaches that are being attempted so that we can more clearly tell the story of what we're doing as an industry for the welfare of our animals and our profitability.
There's a great point there, Rebecca. Zoetis is an ambassador, can be an ambassador for our industry. They get a lot of focus. There's the financial markets, et cetera, pay attention to what Zoetis is doing. And when they put on a positive message, which, as they say, there's a great message in the dairy industry for sustainability. And they're very proactive about promoting the positive sustainability of the dairy industry. So they're a great ambassador for us, and we appreciate them very much that way. So some of this formatting they're using is with that in mind, as being a positive ambassador for us to the industry, to the consumer, and to the outside investors. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, so I think it helps us, and as we become more familiar with it as well, we can continue to use some of the language that's important to the consumer and to the industry, so that we can also be telling our story in a way that people understand. So it's a good message.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, just to summarize all of that, the genetic focus that's really been had with DWP is excellent. It continues to be even more precisely focused on the traits that matter to producers. And I'm excited about the opportunity to keep using this index in our genetic selection.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful tool and a wonderful opportunity for our clients around the world.
Absolutely.
Now, talk about exciting of what's happening within our industry and within Worldwide Sires, within Select Sires. Let's talk about HHP dollars and get into some of the other indexes and things going on. But what we've developed at Select, at Worldwide Sires, has me very excited about where we're going to take this industry.
Yeah, so really great transition point there that we're really excited about with our focus at Worldwide Sires on health. And HHP dollars was really created with the idea of making longevity her legacy. So creating those healthy, long-lasting cows that are resistant to mastitis, they're highly fertile, and they have functional type. We have a lot of producers around the world who are interested in creating the kind of cow that not only looks good in her performance, but also that they like to work with, that they want to see, and that works functionally in their system. And HHP is really designed to do this. HHP is an index that we have developed at Select Sires to be able to rank our sires in comparison with the rest of the industry, so that we just use the CDCB traits for all of this, and we ensure that we can compare our bulls with the rest of the industry for this. We also make sure that our customers can rank their females using a health-focused index. So for those customers, for example, who aren't testing their females with Zoetis, but still care about health and wellness and mastitis resistance, the HHP dollar index can be applied to their females so that they can make the best breeding decisions for their female population and then match that up with the best available sires as well. For HHP dollars this time, we've made some adjustments to it, with the main thing being that we're including residual feed intake rather than feed efficiency in the index. What we've found is that Residual feed intake is actually what producers concerned about feed efficiency are trying to achieve. They're not necessarily trying to reduce the body weight of the cow and make cows have less strength, but we've seen that we maybe need to moderate the stature of the Holstein population, but not reduce their strength. And so by putting a negative weight on stature and emphasizing residual feed intake, we can accomplish that objective.
This is one of the key points about HHP dollars, Rebekah, and something I want to make sure everyone clearly understands. And I like the analogy that a wise old sire analyst once told me, you should breed for the cow that you want, not try to correct things, not try to fix things. Design the cow that you want, understand the cow that you want, that fits in the free stalls, that has enough strength to survive, that has the correct feet and legs to walk the pastures that she needs to walk. HHP is the best index I've ever seen at designing the cow that we actually want, and she's healthy at the same time. This is not a frail little cow. You mentioned strength. This is not a narrow net merit cow. This is not a too tall cow from some other indexes from the past. What Chuck Sattler has created and designed with HHP dollars is just a marvelous index that describes the modern, healthy, wide enough, strong enough cow that fits in our parlors and our free stalls. I just can't reiterate that enough. This really hits the mark, HHP dollars, and the health and the focus on mastitis, et cetera, is just marvelous. And I mentioned the mastitis word again, Rebekah, so have to talk about jerseys and HHP dollars.
And that's the thing that's probably the most exciting, especially for our jersey enthusiasts, is we have HHP dollars for jerseys now. And one of the things to emphasize here is we didn't just copy the Holstein HHP index, because these are not the same breed. There's different challenges that each of these breeds have, and different opportunities. And so, as you said, breeding for the type of cow that you want, it's going to look different for Holstein and Jersey producers in different cases, because there's different traits that really impact them and are going to drive them to be the next level of profitability and productivity. So this is the index that is just released here in April of 2022 for the jerseys. And I think you'll agree that those same pieces of focus that we just saw on the Holsteins apply to the jerseys, but we need to modify that a bit according to what the jersey breed needs. And I'm really excited that we're releasing this, and for the sire development team's efforts in putting this index together so that we can offer this health and wellness focused index to our jersey producers, and really help continue to drive that breed forward genetically.
That's great. Thank you, Rebekah. I'm excited about having the Jersey HHP dollars, and with the focus that the breed needs to take on mastitis. This will be a fabulous tool that anyone can use, even if they don't have genomic information. They can still utilize the HHP dollars for the jerseys.
Absolutely.
Okay, now let's talk about indexes in a broader sense, if you would, Rebekah.
Yeah, so in a broader sense, I think it's always important for us to remember that we have a really diverse group of customers, and we have a very diverse group of producers all over the world. And one index is not going to fit everyone. And so it's important that everyone understand what is the type of cow that they want to be breeding for, and then select their bulls and their females on the index that best suits their genetic goals and objectives. And so listed here on this table, we can see kind of a combination of some of the key focuses that different producers might have. So on production volume, combined fat and protein, that's CFP, mastitis resistance, fertility, cow health, calving ability, calf health, functional type or conformation, and body size or residual feed intake. Kind of break down where do you want to see your herd going for the future, and then look at what each of these indexes provides and make a decision on which index best suits what your herd needs. And so just highlighting a couple of the indexes that we talked about today with DWP and herd health profit. What I just want to point out, again, is this emphasis on mastitis resistance that we see for both of those indexes. We've really talked about that a lot today. DWP having the emphasis on calf health, and the herd health profit index, that emphasis on conformation and the functional type traits that so many of our customers are looking for. So these indexes are designed to really be able to work together and to meet the different needs of our producers. The other index that's worth pointing out is the Grazing Pro Index. This part of our industry doesn't necessarily find a fit within any of the other indexes because of the specific challenges related to producing milk from grass. And so we've created an index specific for those grazing producers, and we are continually receiving feedback from our grazing think tank group, which includes representatives from all around the world in grazing markets, giving us information about what's most important to our producers who are producing milk from grass. And actually, we'd probably be better to say producing total kilos of solids from grass than
Because we
just
don't want
from
any
milk.
milk, we just want solids,
We
yes,
want kilos of solids. So
yes.
how are we getting that total combined fat and protein and those percentages? And so when we look at this Grazing Pro Index, that has been very specifically designed with those producers in mind. And so I think that deserves a bit of extra highlight.
And I think you're spot on there, Rebecca. So having mentioned Grazing Pro, what about Feed Pro? What about Robot Pro? What about those indexes?
Yeah, so really great point, Larry. Feed Pro and Robot Pro continue to be indexes that we are working on and making sure that we're creating the type of genetics and providing the type of genetics to our customers to meet those needs for feed efficiency with Feed Pro or for the type of cow that works in a robot environment. What we found as we did those comparisons and updates to HHP dollars is actually HHP is the perfect index to really capture what these different producers need. So for Feed Pro, now that we have residual feed intake included in the index, as well as that focus on the fertile cow who's going to calve again and again and produce milk in a healthy way, HHP addresses what we need for Feed Pro. And we need a bit more emphasis on that moderation of body size. So we have an independent culling criteria for stature with the Feed Pro Index. We continue to focus on that. So HHP is the underlying index, and then we have some cutoffs for the bull to actually receive the Feed Pro designation. Robot Pro is the same. When we think about bulls that are going to create the type of cows that we want to milk in a robot environment, we want them resistant to mastitis. We want them producing volumes of fat and protein. We want them highly fertile, healthy cows. And we want some additional focus on teat length and teat placement. So Robot Pro, again, puts some extra emphasis for the culling levels on teat placement, and length in order to qualify for the designation.
And what about Mastitis Pro?
Yeah, so Mastitis Pro is one of the designations that I've really appreciated because when we think about mastitis resistance, we now have 3 different indexes that we can look at, or genetic evaluations. We have somatic cell score, we have CDCB mastitis, we have Zoetis mastitis. That's a lot of information for our teams and our customers to be looking at and trying to weigh these things and balance them. What Mastitis Resistance Pro does is it looks at all of the available sires and it creates an index based on the value that each of those traits provides in creating cows that are highly mastitis resistant. And it puts it all together into one designation. So for producers who are really focused on mastitis resistance, they can use any of the other indexes and then look for bulls who also qualify for Mastitis Resistance Pro, and they've got that solution. The genetic selection that they're looking for with the index that they need and Mastitis Resistant Pro, you lay those together and you've got a great solution for creating the type of cow that works in your system.
I couldn't agree more, Rebekah. It's very, very well rounded. I think the work and input that's been put into finding a solution for whatever your market, whatever your environment, whatever type of milk or non-milk, if you will, for the grazing folks you're trying to create, I think we have solutions that worldwide to target the females in your herd that you want to propagate into your next generation through the sires that will sire the type of cows that you're looking for. So I think this is a great update and a tremendous amount of information coming forth from worldwide, and appreciate everything you've had to share, Rebekah.
Yeah, and I just appreciate the thinking of the sire acquisition team, the development team, and the feedback that we get from the field to be able to tell us what is it that we need to develop, what are the genetics that are needed by our customers. And so all of this information helps us to create the type of product and support that we've become known for and to continue to be strong in that.
Well said.